Welcome back to episode 219 of the AyyScare Plays for Novice Football 8, Season 2. Or have I been saying or whatever. You guys get the point. We're on episode 19 of Season 2. Alright, cool. So, to get everybody up to speed, in case you missed the last episode, go back. Go back right now, stop the video, and go back to episode 18, because it was a fun season. In case you skipped it or in case you need a refresher, we got into playoffs on the final game of the season. We then made it all the way to the Final Four, where we lost in a game where we had 4 turnovers. If we had won that game, I am pretty confident that we would have ended up, winning it all. The bowl was basically a blowout, and the team that beat us won pretty handily. So I think that we were basically 1 or 2 turnovers away from a bowl win. That being said, we still didn't get the bowl win, so that is the goal. Basically the next 2 episodes, right? So, before we jump into the season, I want to share just 1 or 2 things. One thing that, if you watch season 1, and when I say season 1, I mean the first 20 episodes that I did a year ago. In that season with that team, we were Jacksonville. Our native snap percentage was I think we were the bottom team. Now we're near the top, which I don't know if that really matters. I just found it interesting. Native snap percentage basically means that the players that are on your team, you actually drafted. So back in season 1, we were doing a lot more through free agency and stuff. This time around, it seems like we're nailing a lot of good draft picks. So that's been working in our favor. I wanted to go over the roster strengths. Now, I have my own opinions about the way that this is done. I don't fully agree with it, but I'm still going to go through it. So one thing to note about quarterbacks, I think that Holmberg is easily a top 10 as they show here. That being said, one thing that I think we might want to look at is a backup quarterback. Our backup quarterback situation has really never been good, and Holmberg almost every season misses at least 2 games. So getting a better reserve is probably on a list for me. Even though our rushing attack was bottom third of the league last year, we were technically considered second best in the league. Fullbacks were pretty low. Tight ends were high both in starters and reserves. Wide receivers, we are considered the best wide receiver core in the league right now. And that makes sense. We have, if we open up this real quick, we have Dabney, we have Fumatu, and then we also have Drew Jefferson. All of these guys are young, talented, and combined with the running backs and the tight end, our weapons right now are really on point. We have a very good starting center and a very good reserve. Our guard situation is also good, although we have that one guard that's getting up in age. Our tackle situation is horrendous. Now, this will upgrade a little bit because we have the rookie that we had to start last year, who he's not looking to become a great player, but he should at least be considered more of a starting caliber player this year. But this is definitely an area of concern. Our starting punter, who's technically the best punter in the league, was what's the word? I'm thinking ejected, but that's not the right word. He had to sit out all last season because of an off-field thing, basically. So even though this says that we're in last, the moment we start the next season, we're probably going to be first on this list. Kicker, we're not considered a good kicker, but we're still top half. Now, here's where things get a little bit more interesting in my eyes. Right now, our defensive positions, really, we have Luther Hall up here. Outside of him, we do not have any clear like studs on our defense. And overall, like I think our defense is still very good. Like if we go to our team summary, we struggled a little bit more than we have last or other seasons. But like, our defense overall is kind of in that 20th range. And the big thing that really helped us last season was we were top team in turnovers. So you'll see here our roster strength across defense is pretty low. Defensive ends, in this list we're like, I don't know, somewhere around 10th. But thing to keep in note is that reserves were like second. We have 3 really good defensive ends. Not like studs, but we have 3 clear starting defensive ends. Defensive tackles, we are basically horrible. Inside linebacker, we're good, but we have no reserves. Outside linebacker, we're middle of the pack, but you can see there by the ratings, the middle of the pack is not very good. Corners, we are pretty low on, but we have a number of corners that are considered good, like decent, so like around that 50 range. So kind of like our defensive end situation. Like we have, I think, 4 corners that would probably start on other teams, but none of them are like top 10 corners in the league. And then safeties were kind of middle of the pack. So that kind of gives us an idea. I mean, I think if you've watched the past like episode or two, you know that weapons wise on offense, we've upgraded that significantly since like 5 episodes ago. That being said, because we've been focusing so much on it, our other positions are getting a little bit lower, which again is 100% expected. You're never going to have a team where you're top in everything. So it's a balancing act. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and hop into the season. All right. Now, overall, I think coaching I'm overall happy with. I do think that we can probably find a better offensive coordinator, so I'm not going to re-sign this guy right now. Again, with the weapons we have, I would expect a like probably top 5 passing game and at least a top half running game, and we were not either of those last season. So I'm going to look at what offensive weapons or offensive coordinator options we really have. One thing to note that is important is that our head coach focuses on defense. I think that it's been that way since I think all of the past of season 2, so the past like 19 episodes, I think our head coach has always been defensive. And I think if I remember correctly, I think in season 1, so the first 20 episodes that we did, I think that I almost always run a defensive head coach. Maybe that's working against us. I don't know. But we'll see. So our offensive coordinator is considered best on the list. And he's considered best on the list by quite a bit. And the running back that we're running right now is relatively young, I think. Let me just double check that. Yeah, he is young. So we will keep this. Go ahead and re-sign him. All right, defensive coordinator. This guy was horrible as a head coach. Actually, his entire coaching history is not that impressive. Don't know how much that matters. I think I'm a little bit more interested in this guy, to be quite honest. He hasn't had a good stint recently, but he has a history of getting teams to the playoffs. And back then he was a head coach. So I think that's what I'm going to do. His bars are pretty good across the board. He has that player development, young talent, scouting ability, primary on defensive line, which we really do need a new weapon on our defensive line. So this is my option here. All right, assistant coach. we were mainly going this guy because he focused on wide receivers, and we were bringing in a lot of young wide receivers. We're now at a point where they are basically to the point that I think they're at their future potential. Let's check real quick. Dabney is apparently at his top. Famatu is apparently at his. Drew Jefferson is also at his. So I don't think that it's too important that we keep this guy as our assistant coach. I think we should probably go with one of the two at the top of the list. This guy, his bars terrify me. The only really good bar is that young talent. And he focuses on secondary, which is an area that we're potentially a little bit weak in right now. This guy focuses more on linebackers. I feel like this is probably a better looking set of bars. So this is who we're going. Caesar Shields here. And we have top strength. Good stuff. All right. Moment of truth. How bad is our money situation? I'm going to pull up our franchise player salaries. And then we are going to be looking at our money. Okay, I'm not going to lie. That's actually more money than I was anticipating having. Real quick, did we lose anybody to retirement? Transaction log, there it is. Jalen, so the wide receiver that we had for, I think he was in the league for like at least 12 seasons. Yeah. He has retired. Unfortunate that we weren't able to get him a ring because he was kind of our wide receiver one for a stint. I would say most of his time with us, he was more like a wide receiver two, but he really did fill a pretty big wide receiver need for us for a while. And Sebastian Slaughter also retired. That is a little bit surprising. He retired a little bit earlier than I was anticipating, and that does leave a pretty decent hole in our defense because this guy was pretty consistent in terms of tackling, getting us at least an interception or two. His pass defended was a little bit fluctuating, but always a respectable number. So it does suck that he is gone. That is not what I was anticipating. If there was somebody that I was anticipating to see here, it's the left guard. Or is it the center now? Yeah, center is the one. He's at 11 years in the league. He's sticking it out with us. So keep things moving here. All right. So before we start, there really is not anybody here worth franchising. So we're going to skip that option. And then we just need to look if there's anybody worth cutting before free agency starts. So right now, Devin Holmberg's top player on our team. He is a top 10 quarterback. We're not cutting him. In terms of his contract, he's not even, like, he's being paid as like a top 10 quarterback. So he's being paid properly, not touching him. Maurice Morton. Now, this is the kind of player that is in a little bit more of a predicament when it comes to what we're paying him. He was our starting left defensive end last season. He put up 33 tackles, only 2.5 sacks, but he did get 20 hurries and 8 quarterback knockdowns. That being said, for the price we're paying him, he might be cuttable. Left guard, we're definitely, actually, yeah, he's a great left guard. He really is. I'm not even considering that. Luther Hall, absolutely awesome linebacker. We're not cutting him. Famatu is a little bit questionable for me. We're paying him a lot. He was a 13th overall pick. He has not lived up to 13th overall pick. That being said, he is a very solid wide receiver 2 for us, and he gets along very well with Melvin Dabney, who's our wide receiver 1. So I might see if I can figure out a way to restructure his deal, but I'm definitely not cutting him. Rich Middleton, another situation where defensive end, he really didn't put up the numbers that you would expect, especially for how much we're paying him. And then just looking down at the next set, we want to keep all of these guys on. Let's look at something here. So if we cut Morton and Middleton, those would be our two starting defensive ends. We have Leo Ledyard down here, who hasn't done too much, but in terms of an overall rating, that does take us down a little bit. Our defensive line is weak to begin with. Ooh, that's rough. Main concern is I just don't know if we're going to get anything better. That's my main concern. I think that if we cut probably both of them, I think this guy's definitely more cuttable than Morton. It would open up money for us to try to get a big free agency signing. This guy I'm cutting, Rich Middleton, is going to be off the team. Yeah, he's considered our 6th highest paid player. He's not worth that. He's being released. So that did open up quite a bit of money for us. This guy's on the final year of his contract. So this guy will probably be willing to extend for us and give us a team deal to open up some money. So I'm not going to cut him right now. And then everything else on here, we don't want to really touch. This guy actually didn't play at all last season. Did he get hurt? Wait a second. Last season was 87. So it looks like he was out most of the season with a severe problem. That being said, when he played, he didn't do anything. How much are we paying him? That would open up another 11 million for us. I think that is actually probably worthwhile. Which stinks, because this guy, just a couple of seasons ago, he was never best player on our defense or anything like that. But he was a very decent player to have plugged in, especially because he was a 7th round pick for us. But in terms of what we were paying him, he really wasn't panning out. And then I said we don't want to touch these guys, but let's actually look at this real quick. This left tackle is going to be getting replaced by rookie from last year, whose name I forget right now. Alexander Troy, or Troy Alexander. This guy will probably slot in to be our starting left tackle. So this guy, especially as a 37 overall, is cuttable. How much do we save from that, though? Oh, we'll be saving almost his entire contract. So, all right. And then this right tackle we probably need to keep. He did not play well last season, but I'm too scared to cut him, and he's not a double digit, like how much we would save cutting him. And he's also not even a double digit on our cap cost. When I say double digit, I mean like above 10 million. So we will keep that. We now have some money to work with. We do have a couple players that we're going to need to re-sign here. They're going to be expensive. Dabney, we have to re-sign. And then also Grayson Gaither, who's our tight end, we need to re-sign. So this will be interesting. Definitely a little bit of a different off-season than we've been seeing so far. All right. Before we re-sign, let's take a quick look at the gray sheet in terms of what might be available. So there's a very good cornerback that's hitting the market. Wow. Wow. Normally in this game, you don't see corners with 100 tackles. That's ridiculous. Really good pass defended rate. Not the biggest on interceptions, but when you're rocking a career 81.5 pass defended rate, his bars are nuts. I'm sure he's going to be ridiculously expensive. Rich Middleton is considered the best defensive end available. That being said, we were overpaying him, so I'm fine with him sitting on this list. And let's say there are a couple of other players, but looking at this, there is not a clear player that I'm instantly interested in. So let's go through our re-signing process. All right. That's the word I was thinking of, suspension. Our punter was suspended. That was like probably 15 minutes ago now that I tripped over that word. All right, let's see here. So Melvin Dabney. We have to re-sign this guy. This guy, in 3 seasons, has basically put up 3 1,000-yard seasons and is our clear wide receiver 1. He gets along well with our wide receiver 2. He's our receivers leader. We might be paying this guy top dollar. Let's see what he's asking for. Wow. Okay. Was not expecting it to be that top dollar. All right. Because, I mean, we would probably restructure it a little bit in here, but this is about to bump top salary of wide receivers. In like 2 seasons, it's going to increase it by 20%, which will also put pressure on other teams in terms of their wide receiver signings. I don't think that we can risk losing him. I do think that this seems a little bit ridiculous, but we can't lose him. If we want our quarterback to Holmberg, that's his name. If we want Holmberg to succeed here, he needs these clear weapons. So I am going to go ahead and re-sign him. So that locks him in for 4 years. What about our tight end? Tight end is also in a situation where we might be paying this guy top dollar because he's also a decent blocking tight end. I don't know what his blocking stats aren't crazy, but in terms of his bars, he is a very viable blocking tight end too. And this will also be setting a new top limit for tight end. But again, I think that's important. I mean, in my eyes, this is almost like a, Mahomes, Hill, Kelsey situation. If we can get these 3 to really lock in, I think that we can have multiple playoff runs. So they are now locked in. All of them are now locked in for 4 years. So that is a very solid core. Famatu is locked in already for 3. This defensive end will hopefully give us a deal. That is not actually a great deal. So we're leaving him where he stands. This linebacker, we want to re-sign if possible. That is an awesome deal for us. I'm going to go ahead and just kind of go in and re-sign our linebacking core. We don't have any clear, besides Luther Hall, we don't have any clear other winners in our linebackers, but I think that we'll be okay. All right, this guy is not worth re-signing right now. This right tackle, let's see what he wants. I'm not bothering with that re-signing right now. Alexis Brady, I want to keep if possible, and he's giving us a team deal. Awesome. In case you've missed it the past couple episodes, Alexis Brady, absolutely love him. Extremely consistent, gets multiple interceptions every year, has the most ridiculous pass defended rates that I've ever seen. So, a player that I'm very happy is giving us a team deal. We have a very good long snapper who I will extend. And I'd like to keep this guy on in case, just because he's cheap. And that basically locks us in. Once again, we don't have a ton of money because we had a number of big deals on here. Knew that they were coming up, so not much that I can really do about it. But I think cutting the 2 or 3 players that we did opened up the money for us. We now have money for the draft. We have money for post free agency or late free agency. We could put an offer in on maybe one decent free agent signing. Game claims we need defensive tackle. That is, it says that's our biggest concern, and I agree. So let's take a quick look here in terms of if there is a good defensive tackle for us to bring in. Was this guy? No, this guy was on a different team. His stats are not that great, although he brings a lot of pass rush, which could actually be very beneficial for us. He's not asking for much. I think that this could be a player that goes for more than they're asking for, though. So let's see. I'm going to up a little bit of what he's asking for. And we'll do 7.5. We'll do 9. I think another team might outbid us here, but 28 million for 3 years for a very decent pass rushing nose tackle. I would love it if we get him. So we offered 28.5. Hey, we got him. Okay. All right, that helps out an area that we are definitely lacking in. So that's actually a pretty big signing for us. We don't have a ton of money, so I don't think there's really anybody else I'm going to put in a big offer on. This corner is about to get a record-shattering deal. So let's just take a quick look. So top salary for a corner, top corner in the league right now, basically 45 million. Let's see what this guy goes for. No team gave him what he wanted. Oh man, yeah, this guy's asking for a ton of money. A team's going to end up paying him something ridiculous. Actually, outside of this being such a high number, I don't think that he's asking for actually that ridiculous of an amount. I think he'll probably go for about 260 for 5 years. Let's see what he ends up going for. Because there's really nobody else in this thing that I'm going to be able to easily afford. And I want money for late free agency. So, what about this backup quarterback down here, actually? Well, this linebacker looks decent, although he's asking for more than I would be willing to pay. Very interesting. I might actually look at this guy depending on what he is going for. What round is he? He's around 6. Okay. So let's pay a little bit of attention about this corner for right now. Whoa. Okay. He went for more than I was thinking. Houston ended up signing for $290 for 5 years. So it's a good thing I didn't even bother putting in an offer because I was thinking about $30 million below what he ended up going for. That is a crazy deal. I actually want to real quick just look at what this contract is. Oh man, this is going to screw over teams because even if the final year doesn't stick here, we're talking about increasing top salary of corners by basically $10 million. That could have some big implications downstream. All right. Here is where the one quarterback is. And let me just look at this real quick. So last two seasons, he's actually looked very decent. He's been a starting guy for a number of years. I think this guy's going to expect starting role. I would say last season, he actually took this team into the playoffs. He sucked in the playoffs, but they did make it to playoffs last season. What's this guy asking for? How old is he? So this is his final things. This, I think, is a great player, though, to be that backup quarterback for us, because just talk through and make sure I'm not lying to myself here. We have Holmberg. Holmberg's 31. He should be in his prime for another 3 seasons. Outside of that, our backup is one of these two guys who are both basically horrible. I mean, it looks like Jack might get somewhere, but he's not close to being able to be our realistic backup right now. So I'm actually going to put in an offer on this guy. Something tells me that he is going to want a team where he's going to be able to start. But we'll see. I'm going to give him a 2-year deal. I'm going to up these numbers a little bit. Let's see. So he was asking for 7 and an 8. Actually, I'll drop this to 9. So he was asking for a 3-year deal that was going to be, what would that be? Somewhere in the range of 17, 25, 35 million. Basically, I'm offering him 2 years for 25 million. But I think for a backup quarterback, this guy is ideal candidate. So let's see if he ends up biting on our offer. So we offered 2 years, 25 million. Didn't sign with us. Did he sign somewhere else? So his top option right now is going to Jacksonville. He hasn't signed with Jacksonville, but that's his top option. They offered him $35 million for 3 years. Is he clear starter in Jacksonville? Okay, so that would be him going to a starting gig. With that in mind, we would probably have to overpay him in order to have him come and be our backup. So if he wants to, I do kind of want him though. We could up the offer and keep him on a 2-year deal. So, and we technically did, but he was asking for it over 3 years, but we lowered his signing bonus. I'll up his signing bonus back by $2 million, so we'll offer him $27 million for 2 years to be our backup. Don't know if he'll go for it, but that's final offer on him. He did. He signed it. Let's go. Come be our backup. Hopefully get a ring with us. Knowing our history with Holmberg, you'll probably get at least a handful of starting games. So let's go. All right. Draft time. Now, we don't have an early draft pick. I think we're going to be at 28 or something. 29th. Okay. That means that this is a real guessing game without me doing a lot of background checking, which I don't personally do. So, I'm just trying to think off the top of my head. I think right now, based on how the based on how everything else has gone. Offensive weapons, we are good in, real quick, Artie Price. Okay, he still has 2 years on us. He had a down year last year, but I really like him. I want him around, assuming he doesn't fall off a cliff in terms of his stats. So right now, I think, realistically, if we can find a startable offensive lineman, that is probably our biggest concern right now. Right now, we have a great left guard. We have a great center. And then we have a very young left tackle who we don't know where his rating is going to be going into the season. And that's it. Because both of these guards are now off of our team. So we should actually probably see if we can re-sign this tackle, just because I don't know if we're going to be able to find anything better. And he's willing to sign for dirt cheap. So, yeah, our offensive line, and I would say offensive and defensive line are basically our two main concerns. So let's see what we'll be able to get here. We know we're not going to get anybody at the top of the list here. We're probably at best looking at maybe one of these two guys and down. So ideal of a 3-4 defensive end, which is what we run. Overrate it. All right, mark in blue. Those are some good looking bars. Very overrated. All right, we'll mark in blue. These bars overall look good, but that endurance worries me. So we'll keep going down. Right tackle. Maybe. Ooh, in terms of defensive end, this is very interesting to me. And he's considered underrated. Okay. Here's an inside linebacker that did not do the combine, which probably has dropped him here. He is an inside linebacker, but ideal fit as an outside linebacker, weak side, which I think is something that we need. I shouldn't say we need. It's something that this guy would definitely probably be an upgrade for us. And that would give us some additional pass rush and all that jazz. And he's considered underrated. Okay. There's a decent shot that none of these three guys are available at 29th. So we should probably keep going down here. Here's a guard. Guard looks very decent. And it looks like he could swap to right guard for us because we have the other good left guard. Considered overrated, but his bars are still decent. I'm going to mark him blue. Let's see, this tackle. We're skipping that interview for now. Here's a nose tackle. Doesn't look all that great. Only real benefit to this nose tackle is that he's 52% developed. I don't think that's worth the risk there. Very interesting. This guy would also fit into that weak side linebacker role. This guy's 60% developed. The other guy was only 31. This is actually an interesting option. Considered hard to read. Not as big of a fan of his bars as the other guy, but we'll see where he falls to. Neither of those are nothing to laugh at, but I feel like we're now at a point where, that's not what I meant to click. We're at 5 interviews. Let's keep scrolling down here and look at 1 or 2 additional players that we're really interested in. And then we need to look at players that are possibly available for round 2. His endurance is horrible, but I would say this looks okay for a nose tackle. I don't think he's worth a first round pick, but realistically, that guy could probably fall to the second round easily. So keep him marked. Now what we need to do is we need to figure out what we're looking for. We did lose Sebastian Slaughter, who was our strong safety. So right now, Alexis Brady or Ruben here are going to be sliding into our strong safety role. This safety looks very interesting. He mainly fits in as a free safety, but he's young. He's 21, didn't do the combine. I think this is somebody definitely worth interviewing. So let's interview him. And he's considered underrated. And the other thing to note is that Alexis Brady is also getting up there in age. Alexis Brady, who's realistically our only startable safety right now, is 31. So, is he considered the second best safety in the draft? He is. Okay. Let's look at a couple of these other safeties. Overrated. Those bars look really nice. Okay, that's an interesting option. Not a huge fan of those bars. Okay. Let's look at one or two defensive ends, because right now, after the cuts, we have the two defensive ends. Neither are studs, though. All right, so we would realistically maybe, I think I looked at a few of these guys already. Let's look down, starting about here. I only got one interview left. Let me see if I find somebody a little bit more interesting. That looks pretty decent. He's not all that developed, but this guy could fall to around like 3 or 4 pick where it might be worth the chance on him. Let's interview him. Considered overrated. So if he falls to a, let's say, 4th round pick, I might go for him because he did do well at the combine. All right. Not feeling all that confident in terms of the draft right now. I'll be honest, I never really feel confident in the draft if I don't have a top 10 pick. So, let's go fast for a minute here, see how this goes. The top player on the draft here, real quick, is, I mean, he's a clear number. Or no, I shouldn't say that. This guy is technically a possible option at 1, and they both technically fit into that weak linebacker role. So, we'll see how they go. Let's actually do it by this. Seattle went the top guy, all right? San Francisco goes their quarterback of the future. I'm going to just switch to the other view. Top defensive tackle just went at 3. Jacksonville goes quarterback. Okay, that's the... If we don't do the adjusted and just do pure grade, top guy went at 5. There's quarterback of the future for Baltimore. I'm very surprised right now that right tackle is still sitting there because he looks like he can go straight in. There he goes at 10th. Okay. Number of linesmen going here between like 9 and 12. First tight end at pick 13. Right now, I'm hoping that Steven Ziegler is still available for us, but there's still, 13 picks, I guess it is? So chances are he is going to be gone. That Robert Walker would be interesting because we do need a right tackle, and he so far is falling further than I was anticipating him. I didn't even bother interviewing a player that high. Okay. Defensive tackle in Minnesota. Indianapolis. I think that's the fourth tight end. Wow. 4 tight ends went in the first round. That's pretty crazy. I think that safety that just went is the one that I was interested in. Wide receiver, safety. Pick before us goes defensive tackle. Real quick, I think that safety is the one that I was wanting. Yeah, this guy is of interest, but I don't think I'm going to reach for him. I think it was J.J. Russell that I was most interested in. Okay. So that opens up, to be quite honest, a little bit of a can of worms here in terms of what makes the most sense here. This guy I was not anticipating to be available, so I did not interview him, which makes him a little bit of a shot in the dark. I intentionally skipped that guy. This linebacker looks very decent. He's technically higher rated than Steven Ziegler. All right, let's look at this real quick. Just based on bars, I don't think that this guy's worth it. The other thing that's worth noting also is that your right side typically tends to be the running side. So the fact that he's lower on running is worrying to me. So I don't think I'm going to use the pick on him. This guy is considered underrated. I think he could add to our front line quite a bit, or defensive front line, that is. This guy's bars are nuts, though. And if this guy is, at least semi-decent in terms of his pass rush and everything, which it seems like he is, it seems like this guy's the better pick. The other option would be Irv, but his bars are much lower. Yeah. Okay, I think that the answer here is clear. It's not addressing either of our lines, which I said earlier. I think that is the thing that we probably need to focus on. Which does bring up a point. I technically did not interview these 2 defensive linemen. Not a huge fan of that set of bars, or that set of bars. Okay. So, I think the answer is clear here. Steven Ziegler is the pick at 29th overall. All right. Going into pick for the round 2. It is interesting. That defensive end that I was like, I'll look at him, and then I said no. He's still available. And he is a pretty clear option. Don't know if he's considered the best option, though, because if we look down, we now pulled in the other guy for this position, so I don't think that this is a worthwhile pick. Bo down here, probably not looking as good as this. Our defense struggled a little bit last season. I am a little bit worried about not pulling in a viable offensive lineman, though. Why do all these endurances, like, just suck? Ooh, that's a very interesting player. This guy's actually really interesting. Only thing is he's 9% developed, so right now with a team that I think realistically we have, like, technically our thing ends after next episode, but I think that this team in general has a very valid offensive attack locked in for 4 seasons. So even if this guy couldn't step in until, seasons 3, 4, I think he's a decent option for the team. That guy also looks interesting. So it looks like we have a number of guards that will probably be there next round. This guy's blocking strength isn't great, but his other bars are awesome. So maybe. That guy doesn't look half bad either. Okay. So I feel confident that at least one of these guys is going to be available next round. So I don't feel like we need to focus on a guard right now. Maybe. No. Let me remind myself real quick. Our guard, also real quick, he's already in here. It looks like that linebacker pick is a very, very solid pick for us. So hopefully that will help out our defensive numbers. That being said, what I mainly came in here to look at is... So this guy theoretically could swap between left tackle, right tackle. His running and running and pass blocking are almost identical. So maybe this guy will end up swapping to right tackle for us. In that case, I am a little bit more interested in, like, this guy as a left tackle could be interesting. Same guy. All right. We have a good center right now and a decent backup center, so let's look at... I'm actually going to look at these back in this view. This is considered best nose tackle on the board. Man, I don't know. Houston's very overrated. Got it. I really don't know what to think here. This is actually a decent looking strong safety, which we know is a weak spot for us right now. Oh, man. Ooh, that right there. Okay. That is a player. His strength score is really bad, which is a little bit worrying. But his bars look great. Yeah, I feel like I'm all over the place right now with this. Is he also considered that Vince Skelly? Okay, he's considered the best tackle left in the draft. So maybe that is what we should be pulling. I think that's the case. We have to keep our quarterback healthy. And easiest way to do that is to give him a proper offensive line. Okay, now that he's gone, this safety is very interesting to me. Let's say one of these guards will probably still be there next round too. Okay. I think that we have to go top safety on the board remaining. Then let's, well, perfect. This is exactly the kind of card that I was hoping was going to fall. All right, so we've gone 2 offensive linemen, a safety, and the linebacker. The linebacker was round 1. Okay. All right, that was a pretty good split. This nose tackle that we overall, we're not like pumped about, but I think that he's at least viable, is sitting at the top of the board right now. And he's considered best remaining nose tackle, or really defensive lineman in general. So let's lock him in. All right. It's interesting that a number of our picks fell right at that bar for us, which is awesome. This defensive end, we need another defensive end. We do. This one we marked. He's considered overrated, though. This guy didn't do the combine, but his bars look decent. Let's lock him in. It's a role that we know that we need. So, all right. We're still sitting here. This guy is still available. I don't think that he's going to be worth it, though. So let's do this real quick. Only skill position, or only position that we need to absolutely fill before the draft is a tight end. We have 2 decent tight ends, so we'll pull that in late free agency. Let's try to nail one final pick here. We're not going to kicker, everybody. Our kicker is considered decent. Okay. Look at this player distribution real quick. Pulling in another guard would not be a bad idea. We have 2 good running backs. We have a decent fullback. We have a good receiving core. Our defensive front, secondary. Okay. I think if there is a decent guard still in this mix, I think that's my preference. But getting a good guard at this point is probably going to be a real shot in the dark. Like a lot of these guys are like, they look really good in one bar, but all the other bars are like below 25. So this is somewhat interesting. Like, this guy is going to fall to late free agency. There's no way another team reaches this far for this guy. I'll entertain looking at a tight end. This actually doesn't seem that bad at all. All right. Do it. All right. Late free agency. Let's look at all those rookie ratings real quick. So linebackers looking great. Nose tackle is looking decent. Left tackle is actually looking decent. Not right now, but in the future. The defensive end and strong safety are both right now down at 45s. Actually, almost all of these guys. Well, good news is that we didn't draft anybody that right now is rated below a future of 45. So I'm not going to say that it's looking like a great draft, but let's say we brought in a number of viable units. And now we drafted a tight end in the final round. We can just grab, we need to fill at least 2 additional spots. Our backup center. He could fill in Meh as a guard. Let's see who's available. Defensive end slipped. Let's give him an offer. Not that you guys can talk back to me right now, but anybody remember the name of that guard that I was like, that guy's going to fall to free agency regardless? I think that worked. Don't remember if he was a right guard or a left guard, though. I feel like I've been looking at bars so much, I'm not even sure I'm going to be able to spot. I think he was a right guard. This was him, TJ Mattos. Okay, let's give him an offer. All right, and then if both of those guys sign, that leaves us with only a small amount of money for mid-season stuff for our coaching staff. We got the guard. Eli. He signed. Awesome. All right. We just have to keep our fingers crossed that we don't run into too many injuries. Now I'm trying to remember if it was last episode or the episode before. One of the recent episodes, we ran into a ton of injury problems. So I think if we're able to stay healthy, I think we upgraded our team this offseason. So assuming through the preseason, get some of that seasonal rust off. Let's get ready for the kickoff here. Now, going into week 1, California is considered a 7-point favorite on us. Did we lose players in things here? Our starting left guard is a sprained thumb. He'll probably play. Okay. Doesn't look like preseason hit us with any major injuries. Looks like our offensive line is already a little bit banged up. So, see how this pans out. Week 1. We took the W, 27-24. Going up against Carolina. Took the W, 23-7. Cincinnati. Took the W, 24-9. All right. We'll stop there for a second. So all teams have played through 3 games. Let's see how everything's looking. All right, so through 3 games. Holmberg averaging, what would that be, about 220 yards a game, give or take. 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions so far. Passer rating of 91. Our running game is there, but it looks like it's struggling a little bit. Our yards per carry is pretty low, which is a little bit to be expected because our offensive line is pretty banged up right now. Our passing game is really funneled through Dabney, but Jefferson has stepped into it. Looks like the wide receiver 2 role, and Famatu is a very capable wide receiver 3, so that's awesome. And it looks like so far Gaither, he only has 4 catches. That's our main tight end. I should say this guy so far has 1 additional catch. All right. And then through 3 games, Luther Hall is already at 25 tackles, which is pretty ridiculous. And is Clancy, is that our rookie? No. What is our rookie's name? I already forgot. Steven Ziegler, that's right. Is he on this list at all yet? Okay, he hasn't done too much yet, but that's okay. You can see here, through 3 games, so this will definitely change. Through 3 games, our defense is looking pretty stellar. So let's keep things moving. Week 4, we're going up against Indianapolis. They beat us 22-16. All right, here's our bye week. All right, we're the Monday night game. Us and Tennessee are both 3-1. Let's see how that pans out. We won 21-13. Going up against Houston here. Houston took the W on us. All right. Going up against California. We took the W there, so we're sitting at 5-2. Let's take a quick look. All right, so it looks like we are facing a number of injuries, which is not what we want. And I can already tell just based on the names that some of these are bad for us. Our guard's playing. It's a torn thumb ligament. He'll still play. Leroy Daniels, our main running back, is a broken wrist, but he'll be back shortly. Grayson Gaither is a sprained knee. He'll be back shortly. Famatu is a hyperextended knee. I'm going to just say it now. Famatu has been an absolute injury monster. Like, even in these, there were a couple of seasons here where he was basically supposed to be our wide receiver 1. And only last season did he actually start every single game. So, thankfully, Jefferson has stepped in as our wide receiver 2. So that's good for us at least. Ike Borders, so our main corner, he is out, but it doesn't look like he's on IR. He's just out right now. He's out. He's out. Yeah, so our secondary is looking pretty banged up right now. All right. All right, team, let's go. We're at 5-2. Definitely dealing with a little bit of injury concerns, but let's look at team summary real quick. All right, Holmberg, his rating has dropped a little bit. He's overall doing okay for us. There we are. Gaither, even though he's a little bit injured right now, his receiving stuff has picked up. Dabney and Jefferson are both doing very well. Our running game is really a 3-back committee. Look at that. They're all within 3 attempts of each other. Artie Price, it's very interesting though. Artie Price is a guy that I used a first round pick on, I guess it was 4 episodes ago. And his overall rating has, I don't think, ever been above a 50. But he gets us very, very solid numbers. Definitely, probably not numbers of a 20th overall pick, but very respectable. He's also our backfield leader and stuff like that. So I'm still overall very happy with how he has turned out so far. Then our defense is just absolutely killing it so far. Through 7 games, Luther Hall is sitting at 60 tackles. That is pretty ridiculous. And Ziegler is getting a little bit more playing time, and he actually got an interception for us. All right, let's keep things rolling. Going up against Jacksonville. We take the W. Kansas City. So here's 2 6-2 teams. This should be a pretty telling week for us, hopefully. We took the W 23-12. Going up against Las Vegas, who is 5-4. We took the W there, 31-19. Week 12, going up against Austin, who's a very respectable team, 34-3. All right. Going up against New England, I will say, based on records, I'm surprised we're only a 4-point favorite. Did we face any major injuries? Luther Hall is out. That is a major injury for us. I think Grayson will probably play, but he's been out a little bit anyway. Famatu is still dealing with his knee, but let's see, he's back. Devin Holmberg is out with a broken foot. The good news about this, unless our coaching staff canned him, we pulled in that backup quarterback who has started 2 games for us and is sitting at a 95 rating so far. That could be a very, very big pickup. Let's see how this pans out. So we're going up against New England. We took the W 16-9. Going up against Tampa Bay. We took the W. Going up against Las Vegas. They beat us badly. Let's see here. Going up against Atlanta. We took the W there handily. And this is the final game of the season. Before we simulate it, let's look at a couple of things. So I don't know if he'll play this week, but it looks like Holmberg will be back for playoffs, which is big. That being said, this backup he's definitely not as good as Holmberg, but he has put up a respectable end of the season for us, which is awesome. In terms of this, we have 2 players on IR who are going to be missing the rest of the season. Okay, it looks like we are going to be going into playoffs, though, with a healthy team, unless just all hell breaks loose this final game of the season. Right now, it looks like, yeah, we have locked in a bye. Okay. All right, let's see how this goes. We're going up against Kansas City. We beat Kansas City 13-3. Come on, team. Before we hop into this first game, I'm going to real quick double check injuries and look at how we did throughout the season as a team. I'm also interested if Holmberg played that game or not. I don't know if it actually matters, but I feel like in the real world, I would probably want my quarterback to play in the final game just to get back some of that potential rust since he was out for a number of weeks. You'll notice that he did play, and he played very well. Okay, cool. All right. Do we face any major injuries? Doesn't look like it. Awesome. All right. This then opens the question of how do we do as a team here? So, our running game ended up kind of coming back and doing very decently. Our passing game, we definitely fell in our passing ratings, but part of that is that we were using a backup quarterback for, I think it was like 6 games. Defensively, we're a defensive powerhouse. We actually only let 1, 2, 3. In 16 games, only 3 teams scored over 20 points on us. I should say 20 or more, because one of them was 20 on the dot. We are a defensive powerhouse that hopefully will see our offense pick up one here. Actually, we need to simulate the wild card week. All right, we're going up against Albuquerque, who looks like they're actually a very good team. Is Gaither coming into this healthy? He is. Okay. Our full starting lineup, these guys actually probably would be in the starting lineup, but overall our starting lineup looks pretty healthy for playoffs. Let's do it. All right, so Albuquerque starts out with a drive where they get a field goal. They get a touchdown on us. Get another touchdown on us. All right, not how we want to start things out here. We're down 17 in the first quarter. So let's see if our team can pull it together here. Scored a touchdown. Scored a touchdown. Let's see. Final plays before the half here. We'll slow down for a second. All right, and we end it. Okay, so we're going into the second half. We got the ball, and we are down a touchdown. Well, technically 7 points. Speed things up again here. All right. Looks like they got a pick 6 or something there. All right, we're in the fourth quarter. We're down 2 touchdowns. Let's slow things down for a bit here. So they are driving. Oh, harmlessly incomplete. Fourth down. Okay. Here we go. We got 8 minutes. We're down 14. Let's see if our offense can do it. Oh, and look at this. I just noticed. Holmberg got injured. Our main quarterback has been our backup. Doesn't explain the full situation though, right? Because technically Albuquerque is scoring much more than we would have anticipated based on our defense. But Holmberg definitely started this game. So we need to see if our backup can do it here. And it looks like our running back right now has some daylight. Let's see how much he goes for. 13. All right. Incomplete. We're sitting at 3 and 7. All right, and we punt it. All right. Defense needs to make a stand here. That's Brady. 2-yard run. Alexis Brady. Here we go. All right, we're starting in midfield. See what you got back up. Incomplete pass. Famato got us 9. Interception. That's it. I'm going to keep it here just in case some crazy thing happens here, but I think that once again wraps us up. And Alexis Brady is going ham here. There were all of our timeouts. I'll press at the 2. All right, let's see what we got. Did I just say Dabney made the tackle? Oh, yeah, we got another interception. This is almost identical to what happened last time, but one game earlier. We're made playoffs. Here, Holmberg got injured, it looks like. But we're dealing with another 4 turnover game, which is, we can't have that happen. That is how you lose games. That's it. Minnesota against Albuquerque. Hey, at least the team that beat us is the team that won it all, which I feel like has been the running scheme here for the past bit. Devin Holmberg. He went in, was 4 for 5 for 19 yards, and then got a pulled groin. Man, Devin Holmberg is a very good quarterback. He just cannot stay healthy. He always misses a game, minimum. Part of that is the fact that our offensive line is not the best. I will admit that. But, all right. I'm going to save this. And before we wrap up, let's take one more look at our team stats and see if we got any season awards here. Holmberg's out of the question. He was injured too much. Daniels, probably not in terms of running back. Dabney, this is probably not enough to get him on the second team. Luther Hall, this is probably not good enough. We had two different players that both went for 10 sacks. Morton actually looks like he could be for defensive end. He got 57 tackles, 20 assists, 10 sacks, 15 hurries. That's actually a very respectable line. He could be getting a season award. I don't think. Alexis Brady got 5 interceptions. Once again, absolutely ridiculous pass defender rate. I don't think, though, that with only 53 tackles that Alexis Brady stands a chance at an award. We'll see, though. And then, of course, offensive line, our center might. Our running game actually did pretty decently considering how bad our offensive line was. So it's possible that our guard and our center ended up on the list. Let's go look. Season awards. Look at that. One of our tackles actually made it. Wow, is this the guy that I was... Wow. Okay. This is one of the guys that I decided not to re-sign him because the season before he allowed 12 sacks. But he actually made first team offensive tackle. Wow. This is probably the guy that got the 10 sacks. It is. So he got 93 tackles, 10 sacks. He made first team outside linebacker. It's interesting that he really hasn't done anything the previous seasons. So I was like, did I draft this guy? I did. He hasn't done anything since we drafted him until this season. So, okay. Morton did get a second team defensive end. He was the other guy that noted with the 10 sacks. And that is it. Just out of curiosity. These are probably both strong safeties. Yeah, they are. Yeah, Alexis Brady would probably need about another 30 tackles to stand a chance. Alexis Brady got more interceptions and a better pass defender rate and things like that, but is lagging behind in tackles pretty significantly. Man. Well, here's what I have to say. We've had at least two. Now I don't even remember what the episode was 3 episodes ago. But last episode and this episode, we had legitimate shots at bowl wins. I think we still stand a very legitimate shot at a bowl win to wrap things up next episode. As a quick reminder, next episode will be the final episode that we are playing with this team. After next episode, I'll be doing a wrap-up episode where we just kind of look at overall stats. If anybody made Hall of Fame, blah, 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 blah. We did the same thing for our first team with Jacksonville. But I think going into this final episode, we are in a position where we could get our very first bowl win. And that would be just a crazy way to wrap things up. It would just be awesome. I would be ecstatic. We'll see how it all pans out, though. If you guys stuck it out until the end of the episode, thank you guys so much for sticking around, having fun with me. And I will see you guys in the next episode. Till then, AyyScare out.